My name is Collin. I go to school at Castle Hall. I'm in 12th grade and I'm 19 years old. So that summer I was really dedicated and I was going pretty hard. And the crazy thing about that game is I don't even remember like going on the field, warming up or anything. That was the last thing. I mean, I don't remember going in the field at all. I just remember kind of being in the locker room and then waking up a week later in the hospital, so.
Thinking back to that day, it's still pretty surreal. We didn't know it was him at first. We couldn't see his jersey number.
And Collin was one of the fittest players that we had. It was the first game of the season. Collin was starting for us at offensive tackle, and within the first 3 or 4 plays, we were coming down the field, and I noticed Collin kind of staggering and then falling in the huddle, and one of his teammates grabbed him.
And all of a sudden, I said, I think that's Collin. And I saw them start to do chest compressions, and
I came down to the field, and when I got to him, it was bad. He was unresponsive, and it was a pretty horrific scene.
I remember running down and to the field, and I collapsed and just started praying right by his side.
Well, I walked out on the field, and Collin wasn't moving much at all. He was very pale, but I could tell something was seriously wrong. He was kind of had agonal respiration, so his breathing was off. So the first thing I did is I felt for a pulse, and I couldn't feel a pulse.
It was like, no, this isn't really happening, and then just waiting for him to come out of it, and it was obvious after a few minutes that wasn't going to happen.
And it was at that point where everybody kicked in. We asked for an AED so we could shock his heart. Somebody ran for that. We started compressions, and a whole team of EMTs and other physicians from the crowd came down, and I hope the AED can analyze his rhythm and get him out of this. That was my total focus, was sustaining him until we could get that AED, because I knew once I didn't feel a pulse, I knew the only way we could get him back was that AED and shocking him back into the correct rhythm. And the AED, as soon as it analyzed his heart rhythm, it indicated a shock.
I do remember hearing the AED being used, and I think that's when all of a sudden snapped, and I said, oh my gosh, this is serious.
And he came to a little bit. His heart rate, he didn't really come to, but his heart rate stabilized.
And then the ambulance finally arrived, and it was amazing to see all those people come together and save his life that day. Those bystanders didn't think twice, and they ran down to the field, and because of their quick actions, they saved Collin that day.
I just think that people's training in that situation was really what saved Collin's life.
So we get to the hospital, and they immediately intubate him, and just every step, the reality set in of just how serious this was. I remember his sister Claire wanted to see him, his girlfriend wanted to see him, and the doctors just said they should not see him. They should not see him like this. And it actually struck me that I wondered if they said that because they didn't want that to be their last thought of Collin.
He was unconscious, for 3 or 4 days, and we didn't know how much oxygen deprivation had occurred, and didn't know, when he woke up, if he woke up, what he would be like, if he would still be Collin.
And so they contacted an electrophysiologist over in Oklahoma City, and he thought it was likely Brugada syndrome. This kid was in the best shape of his life. It was really shocking and disturbing, and it just made me wonder how many other healthy kids out there who are active and do all the things that they should do. How many else of those people could have something like this?
Hearing it from my parents, it was pretty I was in disbelief. I just remember waking up and they were like, hey, you had cardiac arrest, and I just woke, and it was weird being in the hospital, and it just felt unbelievable and unreal to hear that, because I never expected anything like that to happen in my life. A lot of people don't understand the effects that cardiac arrest can have. And before that, I never even heard of cardiac arrest, or I didn't know how to do CPR or anything like that.
I think it's extremely important for everyone to know bystander CPR because you just never know when you may need to use it.
I think being so young, it kind of like awakens me to what really like can happen in this world.
You never know whenever someone like that you like care about is going to go under like the same thing, because like I never thought that would happen.
I mean, it literally saved Collin's life.
The American Heart Association has educated so many people, which I can't even think of how many lives through that education they've saved.
I think people should support the American Heart Association because they do a great job of spreading awareness in CPR and cardiac arrest, and they help save lives just like my own.